All right. Hello to the second episode of Proof Talk. Today we have Jussi Tommola, the CEO at Yellow May, a Finnish insurance innovation consultancy operating across more than 45 countries with a catalog of over 8,000 insurance products. With 15 years in the industry and a track record of scaling insurance operations from €500,000 to 40 million euros in revenue, Jussi advises insurers globally on strategy, product development, and digital transformation. The introduction can be very long, but I think I will give the word to the man. Jussi, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. It's really nice to hop in and from the background point of view, what you said already now, I feel that 15 years starts to be an underestimation. I'm nearing nearly 20 years, I think, in the industry, so it's taken me all the way there. But otherwise, nice to meet all of you then when listening in to the podcast, and happy to have a chat today on regards, especially within the innovation space, what is happening within the insurance industry nowadays.
All right. And as I understand, you are in the middle, right, between the insurers and the technology providers.
Yeah, we are exactly there, thinking what should be done and how to be done. I think this is the element where we hop in.
I think digital transformation in insurance has been such a hot topic lately. But do everyone understand digital transformation in insurance the same way? Or is there some miscommunication?
I think in a nutshell, because insurance generally is data. Basically, data is the element what insurance collects, lives on, and so forth. So in a way, insurance industry always has tried to find ways to store data. And yes, I think probably one of the first, I don't have the history books here, but probably insurance industry was one of the first really taking even a computer with them, so to store data more easily, because everyone can know that the filing cabinets somewhere down there in the cellars, they fill in quickly. But when looking at digital transformation, it also depends on who do you talk to. Is it an insurance company? Is it a broker? Is it an MGA? So it also, or a TPA who handles the claims. So it's very much dependent on also the provider there in that process. And for a number of things, I would say that depends obviously on from country to country as well. But a lot of things has been done already in the past, and insurance industry has not been, I would say, the slowest one to digitally transform their business entity or entities. But I think it comes down to as well that what are you trying to digitally convert, and from what to another vertical. And I think this is definitely that's different from nearly from company to company, almost. Not in that detail, but really that what you cannot kind of transform piece of paper to transfer it digitally. Yes, you take a picture of it, kind of, in a way. So yeah, then it's a digital format. But I think in that sense, it really depends. What do you want to achieve with it? And I think that's part of the challenge in digital transformations. And I think especially even now, maybe even more with AI or artificial intelligence coming into the loop.
All right. In my perspective, I think insurance has been quite slow in transformations before that. But of course, with almost 20 years of experience, I would like to hear your take on it. In these almost 20 years, how has it changed to accommodate this transformation if they are getting into that and they need this cleaner data and many other things that they need?
Well, really, the big driver, obviously, within the insurance industry is that what is the gain of changing something. So I think obviously the gain and the, let's say, return of investment that the companies have used a lot of money as well to change systems, to bring new additional features. That has been happening, but because it is something that you don't necessarily, if you gain 2% out of the whole, let's say, premiums that you earn, instead of you can make a 2% increase either to your sales or that you increase the premiums and you still don't lose the customers, then there isn't so much of a driver to do so. And I think that's also the case in some forms within the insurance industry, that yes, the industry is complex, and that also means that it's not so easy to come from another industry to let's say disrupt. Everyone has been talking, I think, on number of industries. Everyone is talking that okay, the digital players would disrupt, but the insurance industry has a lot of elements that are not so easily let's say copied and then changed into something completely different. And I think that kind of a change needs to come inside of the industry also, that the people who understand what needs to be changed and that there's really a driver to change them. And even with AI, a lot of talk of it is that what can you do with it? How you can digitally transform with AI something there. Yes, there are ideas and I have my thoughts as well on it, but really it's very, you have had incremental changes. Let's say it like this. You've had these, and also the value chains that are meaning the value chain of an insurance product is so long that from the sales department who sells the product or markets it, going to the claims department handling the claim, they have different drivers in their own organization. So the KPIs are different. So then what needs to be changed digitally is kind of like quite a lot of effort has been on the front end, let's say it like this, and then maybe less on the back end. But the back-end digitalization might have been requested, for example, from the partners who are handling the claims. So they have actually been digitally transforming their business in order that they keep up with the competition and are able to offer solutions for the insurance companies. So there's a lot of changes what I see has happened, but it's not necessarily in the core of an insurance company because they haven't had to. They have the customers, they have the policies, the premiums are still being invoiced, but I think there we can do a lot of different things in the future as well.
And do you think this internal drive, does it come, so insurance companies are quite hierarchical. So does this internal drive usually come from the upper manager or the people that are using the platforms in everyday life? Or there's a mix and match of those?
Well, I think it's a balance. Nowadays, I think you have a lot of users. We use, I think individual people, persons are using AI to do a number of things. So everyone is using it probably in some forms, even though if you use a digital tool, phone, laptop, whatever is there, you have AI in some form in it. And now it's transforming slightly towards the direction that you still need the internal drive to make bigger changes, but I think the incremental changes are coming from both ends, so that the manager is using something which is interesting and works well in his own personal use, and then they test it on a bigger scale. But if looking at the really, let's say, the core of an insurance company, where obviously everyone is talking of legacy and legacy technology and and things like these, then it comes down to that it's a balance of how you can meet regulatory requirements and the security that the systems are really functioning well. And I think there is that the insurance industry is very, I would not call it hierarchical, or it's more ancient, that they trust that, okay, this system has been there for 50 years. Okay, we still use it because it works. But I know that these old systems are then not supporting the new way of thinking, new products, or looking into the future, where then you need to build something different in order that you get a more easier access. So I think it's a balance. The bigger scopes, yes, it's still, yeah, it's a management decision in a way, and I think that will stay there. But I think insurance industry gradually, yes, is trying to be more nimble in testing smaller pieces, because I think that AI does allow.
All right. And your clients usually, when they come to you as, let's say, on the consultancy part, do they usually come with a clear idea that, yes, we need the digital transformation, we need AI technology, or they come and they say, we have this issue, and you tell them maybe they do need the digital transformation, and then they shy away from it? I feel like some companies are scared of transformations. Has that happened before?
Yes, yeah. We made a big transformation in a process which was linked, so in a way that it was a combination of a financial system or a financial process together with an insurance product. So they were combined, and there the request was that, okay, please do incremental changes, because we, for some reason, they did not get a good customer feedback of their process, for example. And it's a the insurance company is 150 years old, and the the provider who had the insurance product within there also was like 50 years old, so not the newest ones on the block. And there we created a completely new flow, completely new process for the part up to a point that the policyholder would have their policy, for example. We did it, made the transformation, and their request was that do incremental changes. But as soon as we started to build what they had in place, it went through the whole process, so that when you did one change, it also the end needed to be changed. And they were, let's say, they were not reluctant of doing it, because we had a good explanation and good research done for that, why this needs to be done. So, and they did accept it. But it took them 2.5 years still from the process that we did it, to well, not 2.5, 1.5 years to have it in place. So even though that we were ready, it still took them 1.5 years of decision making to actually have it in place. And there we see that, yes, it takes time within the insurance space.
So would you say then that people, let's say, people related factors might take longer than technology related factors in this whole
Yes, for
process?
sure. Yes, for sure. It's for sure. I think with with any change, people are not kind of really committed to change. I think everyone relates to this, and this could be an endless psychology lesson as well from someone else, not from me, but generally that, okay, change is not something that you do lightly. But I think it's the culture of how it needs to be seen, like in the digital transformation, so that but it really, people need to learn new skills. This is not kind of like that if you go and say someone has been doing the same process for 20 years, kind of with the same system and setup, that you need to be able to do a new system with, or a new process with AI, where you are more reading and monitoring instead of doing. That's so big difference that then you might feel that you're kind of left on the sideline, or that you're not the one kind of calling the shots anymore. It's someone else. And I think that's especially important in the digital transformation, that you're able to engage every stakeholder there, that they are not, it does not mean that they are sidelined. It means that they need to do things differently and even learn every day how a language model, for example, works differently than on the previous day, because it has developed. And I think that's definitely from what we've learned, that even with really good backing up of research and interviews and data, still it takes time, so that people are onboarding it.
Yeah, and I think with your experience in volleyball coaching, it must be very helpful to know how to talk to groups of people.
Yes, yeah. My other half is yes, for sure, in that sense. At least as good as the consultant in me as well, of thinking how and what triggers people, because to do and act, I think that's the core focus there, on that you're able to work together with different people in an environment. And I did I was yesterday in an event, and there was a person who was explaining that there are two types of people: one who can engage with everyone, and the ones who wants to be in the chamber of no one interfering, and they can mind their own business. And then you have to be able to talk to both of those types.
Yeah, that's fair. So if we talk about some examples from your experience,
Yeah.
I would love to hear some impactful or some interesting stories that you have about AI or digital transformation implementation in insurance industry.
Yeah. So, well, one what is a big project ongoing, what we are doing, is that it's a balance between already starting from the research part, so that really, that if nowadays when we are thinking of how a product could work, we also start it from the having a dialogue with AI, so that we really are benchmarking our own thoughts, and then against of, because AI then researches information. So this particular is on the IoT part. So it's a well, internet connected device in which relates to buildings. And we don't understand everything of how a building management system, for example, works. Not in the first initial state when we started the project. So we needed to learn as well that, okay, well, how these are incorporated into a building management system, and then how it works from there. And with AI, you are able to get a lot of information of how the existing ecosystem works. But as a pit hole there, for example, when you go and ask, for example, that, okay, well, when you go into details, and I think there is the pit hole, which I also know from AI, for example, is that if you ask that, okay, you send an invoice to AI to be interpreted, and then the invoice has one look. Then you teach the AI that how it looks like, and then the invoice changes, but it's still the same content. AI doesn't understand it necessarily, or most likely makes a mistake. And in this particular project, for example, we were testing that if AI, and this was more to test the capabilities of AI, and we were using it that it would calculate an insurance premium. What would it recommend kind of in that space? and it basically was not able to multiply with 10 the figures. It made mistakes. So from that project, and then obviously you need to, and I think that's the part where AI fails, at least currently, is that you have to be very, very precise on what is the format, what information it actually is handling, and you still need to have a human monitoring items. So you cannot create a product out of that. There was an April Fool's example from US that someone had created a completely AI insurance company, no employees, and it was just laughter. But let's say in 10 years time, we don't know, is there a completely AI insurance company that doesn't have any employees, or the employees are all AI agents? But jumping back to the project, and they're kind of like with AI elements, when looking at what AI then has to deliver and how it's being regulated as well. And I think this comes down to that the regulation project in US with AI regulation is completely different than AI project in Europe from the regulatory point of view. And in Europe, it even goes differently, and the same in US. In US, it's different states interpret things differently. In Europe, different countries interpret AI differently within the insurance space. And it's from our point of view when looking at the case, and this case, for example, we are in the project of it will be soon launched, but there you have to be able to go on a detail level, still with human eyes, but AI can support this. And I think this is really the core of that. What can you create with AI, but you cannot create anything without human supervision.
Yeah.
This is basically the element of what we've learned, and then obviously it comes down to coding and stuff like this, where I had there was a example from one of the OEMs in a conference few months ago, where I heard that their head of development was explaining that they cannot give big tasks either for their AI LMM model, because they, for example, can create a product for within a space, and this was the autonomous driving element of cars. So autonomous driving and insurance space do collide, and that's why I was there. But in that conference, he was explaining that they created a product for dedicated. It was the camera usage of how they are monitoring the environment, for example. And AI did not create any security protocols, so it could be hacked completely because no one had asked the security protocols. But a developer would have the lamp would have risen, saying that, okay, well, we need a security protocol for this one. And the same is when doing process mapping and creation in the insurance space. You have to create the overall framework, and then you can put it into small pieces, what AI can support you. Then it makes sense.
All right. And usually I have heard many sides of the story, that some people decide to implement it because of efficiency costs. I think that's the biggest use case that we see on LinkedIn. It usually is save 80% of the costs and things like that. And then there's another thing to make the products more customer centric. I have seen that Yellow May also really advocates for the buyer perspective, which I really respect that. So what is the more popular goal to do so? Because I have also noticed that companies shy away when they see that it takes investment in the beginning and it will pay back only after the project is run for many years. And I'm quite curious, because change management is such a big thing of consultancy and everything else. How do you deal with that? How do you inform people that yes, in any way it's going to take an investment, but it will pay back at some point?
Well, in those cases, one element for sure depends on what is being built. If it's an existing product or an existing process, our in our core, not as a like a requirement, like saying that we don't allow it to be done into a complete product, but we always want to usually do 20% of the product first, so that you do a part of it, test it, and then when you see that it works, then you can move on and take the rest 80%. And that's kind of like, then it makes it also more chewable for the company, that okay, that we first tested with 20%, it cannot give you the full benefit anyways, but we also want to make sure that it works and that it can then be gradually increased the usage of it. That especially when it's existing products or existing processes, because otherwise, yeah, you lose a bit of the control, and also you don't engage the stakeholders. But if it's a completely new product, then you can do it 80-20, then you can go for the 80%. And in some ways it's usually the case, what I've read as well, and I know, are that they are something new has been created, then you can go for a bigger chunk of the whole overall value chain. And in those, it has to have an aim, for example, that this means that the product, what you now, then that you have 5 times more time on an area, for example, to do customer acquisition, than to be in the mindset of that, okay, well, 80% of my work has gone with AI. So it has to have the balance of that. Then the stakeholders has to have an additional task already designed when the actual product is in use. Then it's the transformation is slightly more easy, because then the people don't feel, or the stakeholders don't feel at that point that okay, their work has been or has vanished. So they can kind of like, if it's 5 times more customers, then you end up in the end with the 20%, you still end up into 100% there. So that's kind of like the alignment, what in the long run also makes sense for the companies, so that they can then start to think that okay, if they do it, this is the investment, okay, what does it mean then in a longer run, or what could be then or what is the goal of the project.
Yeah, that makes total sense, actually. Yeah, and how did your work change with AI?
Well, for me, I have, well, few different versions of it. I think I have to also, that's why I want to keep up with it as well, to see that okay, what are the different language models or different AIs there in use, just to have a hands-on feeling. I've used few of them more, and they do, for example, we had a, well, I don't say it was an issue, but anyways, we had my AI notes taker was part of the call, because it comes everywhere with me into the calls. So it makes notes on each and every of my online meetings, which means that then all those are transcribed. I get a summary out of it. Then for me, it's slightly less I don't have to remember so much thing than in the past. And then on the other hand, it's also, let's say, I can have a light version of dialogue of brainstorming with AI instead of always trying to reach my colleagues. So definitely in that sense, I can utilize it as a, let's say, a light colleague in a way by my side. And with that, it kind of creates, then I have a cycle that when all my meetings are transcribed, it's also connected to our systems in the form that also I get summaries out of it where the dialogue has gone, for example, with emails or with the same customers, so that they interlinked, which means that then it's easier for me as well to have my colleagues to the project, because then they get on top of things a lot more faster than in the past. So they kind of get as well more info, and the vice versa. So in that sense, let's say I'm more up to speed, even on a less time that has been spent, for example, in the past, which means that then I can utilize it as well differently.
I guess our brain value is into analyzing and thinking rather than memorizing things. So
Yeah,
that
because human brain is not actually designed for that. You cannot extract details. This is the part what you cannot. So that if I would write a number or a name or whatever, it does necessarily, I cannot get it out from my brain. Yeah,
it is somewhere there, but not sure. I
yes,
will allow myself to make this outrageous example. It's like having a paper full insurance full of papers where you need to find the right
that is
document.
true.
Yeah, and so I think my light has disappeared. So you talk, of course, you talk with quite many people, with clients and with partners and with very interesting people. But about the clients themselves, is there something that they could say and you are confident that, yes, this is going to work? Or no, I don't think there is clarity for that, and maybe it is going to be not an issue, but a challenge?
In what correlation do you mean? In what context?
So, for example, it's your first meeting. You just came, you met the people, and they are saying, yes, we want the digital transformation. And are there any answers or questions that are some sort of red flags that you understand that there is misalignment and maybe it wouldn't work the way they would want it to work?
Yeah, many, but I think the really core principle is from my side or from our side coming generally that why do you want to do this? And then what does it actually mean for the ones using the product? Because that's in our core, that our mindset and mission is that the products or the developments or the new processes, new ways of thinking always have to benefit in the end of the day the ones who pay for this, and they are the policyholders. So if the company says that, okay, I want to do a digital transformation, and their core focus, for example, is towards that, okay, they want that their claims costs go down. And then our question will be that, okay, well, how does this benefit for the policyholders? Do you reduce the price of the policies? And if they say no, then we really are saying that, okay, well, why are you doing this? Because that in the long run does not benefit them. If they pay out less, the premiums stay on the same level, most likely the policyholders will not be happy, or the customers there in the end. So we really put a high emphasis on the elements that it has to bring good for the ones who are then paying the bill in the end, and the paying the bill in insurance industry is the one having the policies.
So a very customer-centric approach.
Yes. Yeah. We've said that we don't do only procurement for procurement purposes, because that, in the end of the day, many cases, it does not benefit the policyholder.
Yeah, and there's this very short sentence that I live by. It's not really insurance related, but if you know why, you will find how.
Yes.
So I think here, if you know why you're doing it, you will know how to do it. You will find out.
Yeah, and that's why the red flag is that. That's why, for example, now we are more and more creating the mindset of where and how, for example, AI should be done within the insurance space. And if you look at the whole value chain, because if a customer comes in and says that, okay, I just want to implement AI, then our question is really going to be why? Because then and then if someone is saying that, well, we read it in the news that, or we heard it in the news that, yes, we need to do it, otherwise we are behind the competition. And then we can start to drill in, okay, that what if but if the why is something that doesn't make sense, then it's a complete red flag for us.
All right, definitely understandable. I think people actually nowadays really want to see the demos right away, and then you ask them why, and they don't have a use case. They just show me, and then you have nothing to show because nothing is relevant for them. And then you show something, and then it's not relevant again because they don't know what is happening.
Yeah.
So that's not an issue, but it's a challenge on our part.
Yeah.
And okay, maybe let's finish with the vision to the future. I will again refer to your almost 20 years of experience because I think it's very impressive. So you've been around almost 20 years in this industry, and let's say you decide to do 20 years more. How do you think insurance and technology space will change in the upcoming 20 years?
Wow, that's a
long time. Maybe
it's a long time. No, but I know I'm I'm always happy to throw myself up to the point. I'm really, I would say it's not completely out of the books that there is really the complete AI driven insurance company. That there's no person working in that company, it's only AI agents. Requires a lot from the regulation, requires a lot of the trust topics, but in the long run, when everything is electronic data, where an AI agent or an LLM has the access, I could say that will happen, but I don't know, will it happen in 20 years time? That's probably more of the thinking of the trust element. But in a way, insurance industry is already driving with parametric products towards that, so that the parametric product where you know already what is your claims reimbursement if something happens, and AI can calculate it even further and further, and more of the products, when they turn into being parametric, then there's less kind of requirement of claims handling, claims reimbursements, because their process already, or the products already, has been fixed in that loop. So yeah, let's say it like this: an completely AI driven insurance product with no human interaction in 20 years time.
All right, maybe we should bet on that. I'm
True.
betting on yes because I would like to win.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much for your valuable time. I really truly appreciate it, and I really loved to hear the enthusiasm to simply share your expertise and experience and thoughts. I think it is very important, especially in this fast-changing industry, and technology is growing all the time. So I truly appreciate your input.
Thank you. Thank you. It was really nice to have a chat.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And well, have a great day and success.
Thank you. Thank you. You too. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.